you know.
Man.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 in the place to be. I'm your host, Adam Melton, right now from years.
Sit cut the governor.
And Jammer One.
Okay. Juan Bizzle stepped out for a little bit. Bizzle told me one thing. Let me correct it because he said I was laughing during the advertising black business. So I don't want to put out the wrong signal. Culture, then Towson Mall, and then White Marsh Mall. Go cop the hat. It's worth the money. If you can buy a Gucci hat, you can support black businesses. This hat costed $50. It's worth it. The material is nice. And it got its own little special tag in there. I don't know if y'all can see it. Hold on one second. Because I'm on a car phone. Boom.
Yeah.
You know, and jump. Go holler at my peoples, man. It's dope. All right, let's get to the podcast. Okay. Who want to start it off? FBAs. Should it be arranged marriages or not?
All right, I can start it off. I was having a conversation earlier this week with my sister, and she was completely and totally against it. But most of her talking points were like feminist talking points. I was just saying that since our community is so much in shambles, it would actually help for the future. Because like you need a family unit, right? We all agree that you need a family unit in order to like progress. And having a strong family unit, it also allows you to have a strong community. So when you have an arranged marriage, you have everybody pretty much has like that part of their life already set out for them. So they can concentrate on other things. Like they can concentrate on what they're going to do with their lives, how they're going to make their money. They can concentrate on financial freedom and all of that stuff. Like as adults, you shouldn't have to spend half of your time searching for a mate. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of things she was saying is women in arranged marriages are often abused. I'm like, no, they're not. You know, you have a counsel when your family is arranged like that. They have a counsel, which is the family itself. So when you have problems, you take your problems to the family, and everybody can work things out like that. And if you have a bad situation, you can pretty much get out of it. And she was also talking about a lot of the patriarchal arrangements that happens in foreign countries like Pakistan and all of that kind of stuff. But I don't think our community would have those types of standards. Our standards would be a little bit different because we are more matriarchal than patriarchal, the black community, if that make any sense. So
break it down to me. Break those two things down to me.
You know, in the black community, it's all about mama.
Yeah.
You know that. You know it's all about mama. Like we celebrate, we write songs about our mamas. We celebrate Mother's Day like it ain't no thing. You graduate college, you go to the NBA, you buy your mama a house. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like, it's like the mom is the queen of the family. She holds the family together. Whereas the fathers are kind of like, I love you, Dad. Or your father might not be around.
Gotcha.
Which is another issue another strong issue that we have. Like 70% of us are born out of wedlock. So it's just a lot of confusion. And I think that having those arranged marriages would take out a lot of that confusion. That's all I had to say for now.
Now, your sister, did she throw any numbers out there? Because, I think you were saying that she was saying statistically or arranged marriages, there's a lot of physical abuse in those situations. Did she give any proof? Did she send any type of proof that support that argument that she was presenting to you?
No, not really. We was just going off the top. And we were both making a lot of assumptions, but I was just saying like, yo, Like having an arrangement would be much better because black women as a whole don't know how to choose for themselves. They always they'll choose a man based on how he makes her feel over if he's good for her or not. Like that's a strong issue in the black community. And then the men, it's all about how a chick look. You know what I'm saying? Like if she got a fat booty, it's all good. Forget what her attitude is like. You know, she could be elite. She could be there just because you make a little bit of money and don't really care about you at all. So having having a whole arrangement, it'll fix a lot of issues that we have. The absent father issues, the toxic mother issues, the babying, the lack of accountability. I think it would fix a lot of those issues.
What you think?
Now, I think the way that it could be seen as the fix, but I think I think the fix is actually going to be the byproduct of it. Because
Right,
in order
right.
in order for the arranged marriage to work, the boy and the girl, they're gonna have to be pretty much prepared for this from early on. All right, now.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
right.
There's gonna be that whole aspect of it, which I
You
think
you would literally have to start your children from babies, from small kids, and let them know that they have a mate for them when they become adults. Like once you reach a certain age, you're gonna get married to this person over here. You know what I'm saying?
but that
That's the way it works.
right.
Like for us, or adults already in the system, it would never work for us.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you're right.
So you're saying it's a condition thing?
Yeah, they'll have to be conditioned
Yeah.
in order for it to work. Because think about this. Uh I can imagine me coming into this, all of a sudden, I'm saying 18, 19, all of a sudden they say, oh, by the way, you got an arranged. You're going to be arranged that you're going to be with Tasha. So that's what we got now. Wait a minute now. I had a whole nother idea in my mind since I've been thinking about doing what I'm trying to do. When I'm out here sneaking around trying to find this, trying to find that, and all this, I got my own other pre-plan. I like Taisha. You know,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm in it with her now. Now y'all telling me I gotta marry Tasha. Oh, come on. So if I
Right.
wasn't conditioned, that's what's gonna happen at that point.
Exactly. And if you raise your kids already knowing that they have a mate set out for them, more than likely they ain't going to really be out in the street chasing tails. Some of them will. Don't get me wrong. Some people are natural freaks, but for the most part, the average person or the average teenager won't be out in the streets looking to get laid because they know it's coming, and they know that they're going to be married by the time they're 21.
Here's my thing. How did this work for other societies? What's the pros and cons? What are the successes and the failures in arranged marriages in other cultures and other countries? Then you got to compare that to our culture over here, FBAs in America. If you're looking at something that can be maybe successful within the next 50, 100 years, that's not going to change. That's not going to be an overnight success
Oh,
because
definitely not. That's definitely something
too much. There's too
that
much
has to
distraction on
happen over the course of like 50 to 100 years. And that after that 50 to 100 years, then you'll start seeing the changes come along.
But here's
But
the
like
question.
when you
No,
look at societies that have arranged marriages, they are so much more morally in tune. Whereas we all over the place. Like you might have here we have religions that we kind of follow, but when you look at the societies that got the arranged marriages, they are more in tune. They pretty much follow the rules of their belief systems. Like it's so much more organized.
here's the thing. I believe, and I want to let Corn Bizzle cook. Gov, if you know have anything further to speak on this, I think society in America, in the West, I think I don't want to sound gloom and doom. I think it's too far gone for that. I think it's too far gone in a sense because you have this thing called liberalism that's very strong. You have this thing called entertainment that sways the thinking of people. And I say weak-minded people because, you know, a young lady she knows more about, and there's no disrespect, but she knows more about Cardi B. She knows more about Sexy Red than she knows about uh, uh, um, um, Malcolm's wife, um, Betty Shabazz, or Coretta Scott King, and so forth. All these great women that were ancestors that contribute positive to our community. They don't know anything about these people. So you're fighting a great uphill battle.
Oh, definitely.
Dealing with the
I
mind
agree
and
with you
the
100%.
spirituality first before that can even be a thought.
You want to know what though? Like every movement starts off small and it has to gain momentum.
Right.
So if people decided to do that, it would definitely be a small community. And then the rest of the world or the rest of the country would have to see how it worked with that small group of individuals. And then they would be like, oh, that actually works.
Right.
These people are actually happy and they're winning. They getting money. They following their religion, their core. People would see that and be like, "That's kind of dope. I want to raise my family like that too."
Right. Now,
But that is that like at this point in living in America, that's kind of like a dumb old dream because you don't really know. And I agree with you on that. I agree. Like
because the crazy thing
it's
about it
easy
is,
to be pessimistic about something like that.
it's very easy. And at the same time, it's also easy to get caught up where, see, you get people there's people that probably would legitimately want to do that, but then there's other people that want to take that and combine it with something else and they trying to turn it into some type of a cult or something like that. So,
Yeah.
so it's still, like you said, it's going to take like-minded, like say, you can have like friends growing up and they like we realized we're kind of like-minded when it comes to things. They end up both getting married and they starting their family and they're like, you know what, you guys, y'all doing all right over there, so we're gonna keep it together. So they kind of keep that, and then eventually they having kids and like, you know what, I kind of hope that my daughter's good for your son, you know what I mean, and they probably could set that up, but it's gonna be hard to do because you know what the problem with that is, in-laws. You got you know what I mean? Say, I got two parents, she got parents. 9 times out of 10, they got their opinions. Oh, you can't set that up. So that's what's really going to stop things like that from happening unless you get enough like-minded individuals. It might be something that could possibly start.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
I'm sorry. What you think?
Well, I actually have a list of things, right? So when we say arranged marriages and stuff, I feel like it shouldn't just be just one person, you know, that that boy or girl is destined to get married to, right? Because you got to think of it like this, right? It might be a possibility that that boy or girl might grow up not to like that person, no matter if it's arranged or not, and you've been telling them their whole life, okay, I think, well, I know you're going to marry this person. I set this out for you. You guys have a house, car ready, everything, right? Set off. There's a job waiting for you. You're going to marry this person and you're going to have a good life with them, have kids with them. They may not like this person. They may not be compatible. It may not go the right way or the way people think. I feel like people should have an option. This would be an option of females, option of guys, right? So yeah, if you don't like that one, you should, like, you can still have the community marry that one. If you don't like that one, there's an option for that one. You know what I mean? So that so that way, like in their minds, okay, I'm not just contained to this one person. I could explore. I could go and that so and so, that so and so. I can talk to that girl. I can talk to that boy. You know, it's not just one. So they don't have to feel like, okay, I gotta go up and get better options, or I gotta find better options myself. I'm not just contained to one person. You know what I mean? Second, I feel like, during this time, like Pop said, it might take 50 to 100 years, but I feel like it could be done in the span of 20 years, really, if it takes consistency. And that really goes back to what Jamma said. Really, if you start off with a small community and people see that small community and they see that, okay, on social media, they see these people are moving a certain way, these people are acting a certain way, they're getting money, they're completing their goals, they're following their religion to the T, and they're doing their best, they're raising their kids, they're building their own neighborhoods up, right? I feel like a lot of people will be inspired to do that, following suit, right? The third thing is, I feel like um the community and the world we live in today. And I think that will be a big shocker, especially if that starts to gain some type of momentum. You see like other races, because a lot of people like to hate on black people. when we like to do something for ourselves, right? They're being racist. They're this, they're that. You know what I mean? So every time we try to do something positive for our community, there's always someone that try to either copy our community, destroy it, or that are trying to um or they're trying to undermine it. You know what I mean? So it's the challenges that if we're going to do something like that, we're going to have to face. You know what I mean? Because again, we have a lot of, and I'm not here to judge anybody, but a lot of black men have this bunny fever. You know what I mean? So you have to
What is
get
it? What do
um
you say here?
we have a lot of bunny fever. You know what I mean?
Snow
Yeah.
bunny.
And it's
Oh,
snow bunny fever, right?
bunny fever.
Um yeah, it's snow bunny fever because like I'm not gonna lie, right? When I was growing up, I had that same mindset. It had nothing to do with my parents. I was just like seeing around, have friends, social media, like, oh, I gotta get a white girl. I can't deal with no dark skinned woman. I gotta get a white girl. I gotta get a light skin, so on and so.
Yeah.
I gotta get a white girl. If it's not white, I'm not going. If it's not snowing, I'm not going. You know what I mean? So I grew up to learn to love my black, woman. I learned to look at my mother and okay, if I'm disrespecting her, I'm disrespecting someone that looks like my mother or my aunt, my grandma, right? So I start to, especially if when you educate yourself and you start watching and start reading about you start watching documentaries, you start reading books about people like Harriet Tubman, or Malcolm X. You know what I mean? That's just a few names, right? You start to appreciate your own people more. Even if your people in today's society doesn't reflect how society was back then, right? Or at least from what we're seeing right now, right? Because there's African Americans, there's FBAs that are putting it on for their people. We just don't shine light on it. You know what I mean? There is positive movements in communities like that, but I feel like it can work. It just has to be very consistent and it has to have I feel like it can always start with a certain state. Like, New York had their movements, certain other states had their movements and other states follow suit. So it has to, for me, it has to start, it has to be strong and start small, something like how hip hop first started. You know what I mean? It started in New York, it started small, and then before you knew it, every state was doing it. Every country started doing it. You know what I mean? So it has to start small, it has to start in there, and it has to be consistent. So
Yeah.
Um,
I agree with just about everything you said, except for the kids should be able to choose from what, like two or three different. I don't really agree with that. I don't think children should have a say in it at all, personally. I think that it's the parents' job to raise their children and teach them how to be good people. So when we pair them with other people's children, we know that they're being paired with somebody that's going to do right by them.
do you think
Yeah.
it's a form of because in India culture, they have a lot of that, but they deal with a lot of classism. So would that be a problem in the FBA community? Meaning like, okay, I'm not gonna have a arranged marriage with a little Tata family around the corner because, you know, genetically, health wise and mental wise, I don't want I don't want that to enter my pedigree.
Right.
So
Yeah,
is that a
I
form
ain't
of
gonna lie.
classism with that?
I agree with that. I agree with that way of thinking. I agree with that way of thinking. But it shouldn't be so much about money. It should be about morals.
And
I
character.
wouldn't want to pair my child with nobody's family that's like wild out here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't do that.
Right.
What I'm
Or
saying is,
if they're like not really go-getters like that, they don't really get stuff done. I wouldn't want to pair my child with people like that either.
yeah, but what I'm saying, like mental issues and medical issues, that got to play a part too.
Yeah, that would play a part in it. Sometimes you gotta just some people gotta sit out. Some people gonna have to sit out.
That's exactly what it would open up, though. That's going to be it's going to be one of them type of things where if it were to take, and I wouldn't be surprised that it already does take place, because you think about certain neighborhoods, certain as society go, elite, that's the word I'm trying to think about, elitism, like certain of the elites, they do that already in ways. You know what I mean? Certain families are
Yeah,
already
definitely. They do that. Like
right.
those super rich people, they do
Yes.
that. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, like the Rothschilds and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how they keep a lot of the
That's,
wealth.
that's a great point that you just made.
Mm.
That's a great point. Because I didn't even think of that. But like you think of Paris Hilton, for example. She had her fun, you know what I'm saying? But when it was time for her to come back
Get
home
married and
and
be serious.
take care of that business,
Yep.
you saw what happened. It was like her pops was like, yo, enough of the shenanigans.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
So, did you look at this arranged marriage as a cure for FBAs, and the reason why I say that because, like you said, you made a statement. Somebody's gonna be left out. The people that's just gonna be left out, where do they stand? Like, the problem's not solved in a degree because anybody that feel left out, they feel the need to rebel. Right or wrong, they feel the need to rebel. And when they feel the need to rebel, they can start unrest and uproar. So where do they fit in? You know?
I think it all just depends on the influence. Like if they have a good influence, they'll rebel in a positive way. That's what I think. And then all systems aren't foolproof. They all have everything has its issues, everything has its negatives. But if the positive outweigh the negative, then why not?
So what I'm saying is, where's the where do they stand in all this? What do they go and think outside the box and say?
All right. When I said some people would have to sit out, I was just referring to like people with like mental issues. But it's really something that anybody could huh?
There's levels to that. When you say mental issues, you have
when you mention
slow, or some type of medical
yeah,
deficiency.
like when you mention like the
Like
medical stuff, that's what I was really referring to when I said some people would have to sit out. But like if it's a class thing, the lower class could also participate in it. You know what I mean? They just can't. They more than likely won't be able to participate with the upper class,
right?
But they could still participate.
Like
doesn't that class system put them in a sense where they can't like elevate themselves? You get what I'm saying? Because
yeah, they could. Yeah, you could. You honestly could elevate yourself, like because it's a system where it doesn't just serve the rich; it could serve the poor as well. Because poor people can compare their children together also, and when they when they pair their children together, they're going to have a better fight. They're going to have a better fighting chance to be able to build themselves up.
okay, because I was just saying, like, go back to what Governor said earlier, boy meets girl type of storyline. Like, okay, peasant meets princess, or peasant meets prince. That love story. Like, we're wildly in love, and I think that we are a good match for each other, but we just in two different classes. My family's poor, yours rich, and etc. So I mean,
hey man, that's a common theme in Bollywood.
yes, it is.
That's a common theme.
I mean, it works in real life sometimes. Sometimes you need it.
Sometimes it do. Some people win the lottery as well. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that's the way that you necessarily either side of it. Just because, like the earlier point that was made was looking about, we gotta look at the numbers of things. Like we talking just the way off the top of our heads, anecdotes.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if the numbers were to bear that you had a better chance going one way or the other, then it's best to go that way where the numbers work for you. So like right. So when it comes down to making decisions like that, even for the poor, right? So they say poor people can't decide this, that, third, but they do know a good person versus bad. Like this is a good family over there. They hardworking, blah, blah, blah. Certain character traits. You know what I mean? They're good to talk. But you know what though? in ways
Check
we don't,
boxes.
huh?
I'm sorry, you gotta check boxes.
Yeah, you
Or
gotta
you
check
gotta check
sometimes.
boxes.
Right. Right. Because if you're not check, I like the boxes like character, at least the ability to work. They go out and they try to do what they got to do. You know what I mean? Like that's a big thing. Like they might not own all this and that because we don't own all this and that too. So they do that. But if you think about it, in generations past, people already did that because they would tell certain their kids don't talk to them, but you could talk to them. So it was kind of like a hands off. Don't that pretty much was in place up until relatively recently in our history.
I think it has its pros and cons, man. Because look at the movie Coming to America. That was the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole thing. But he ended up marrying a woman from the Bronx or whatever, and ended up being a better fit. I clearly see both benefits in both reasons. You get what I'm saying? I can see the benefit in an arranged marriage, and I can see the benefit in those who think outside of that.
You want to know something though? You want to know something about that? That like our society has come down. Like marriage rates are falling, divorce rates are rising. So we're not the same society that we were 150 years ago. So 50 years ago, the way things work here in America, you could find yourself a mate. You had a better chance of finding yourself a good mate. Just because of the way we moved in the country. We don't move like that anymore. It's like we like wildlands over here now.
Yeah, do you think it's
like we are spiraling. Like in America, in this country, we are spiraling out of control. That's why I think we need to find something that's going to restabilize us, especially Black people. We need something that's going to restabilize us because eventually it's going to all come crumbling down.
Do you think white supremacy will allow that? Do you think the powers that be, the elites will allow that when their system of corruption is working so well for them?
I don't think they have
to. It works for them. Like they not going to allow themselves to fall down. They don't care about nobody else. White supremacy don't care about people that ain't white.
Right.
We got fend for ourselves.
Right. They would probably prefer that we weren't talking about any kind of a marriage at all. You know what I mean? I think it would be to their benefit that we would always say, nah, I just rather have my fun instead. You know what I mean? Let whatever kids happen, they gotta fend for themselves. That's what they would prefer.
You know who spend more money? You know who spend more money than everybody? Single women.
Yeah.
They spend more money than everybody, and they like it like that. The powers that be want it to be that way.
Yeah.
Because the powers that be profit off of disobedience. Not to get religious, but they profit off of sex out of wedlock. They profit off of drugs, crime, and murder. They profit off of ignorance. They profit off of ignorance. Knowledge is not too profitable for them, or the money doesn't move fast enough.
That's the whole fact.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, because think about it. If you have no mind, right? If your mind is gone and you're completely out of control, why would you keep money in your pocket? What would you want to keep that for? What's the purpose of tomorrow? Today is all that's important. If I'm completely out of control, what I want right now is all that matters. So $50, $100, it doesn't matter. $1,000, boom. That's not. I'm just here for the fun of it. Great. We got to keep feeding that mindset. That's why they love it. So we watch all the commercials. They'll make them as black as you want them. You know what I mean? They'll entertain you the best way you want, who you want. You want somebody to rap to you? We got it. You want somebody to sing to you? We got it. You want somebody to throw the ball up for you? We got it. Whatever you want, just throw us the money.
The West is becoming one big Vegas strip, and they're spreading their poison to the Holy Lands as we speak.
Yeah.
Where can they find you, Jamma One?
Jamma One on YouTube, JAMMA star WUN, and Instagram at JAMMA_WUN.
And where can they find you, Quan Bizzle?
Nostalgia Music on all platforms.
Where can they find you, Sakai?
See me at Governor Mansion, GUVNA, MANSION.
And you can find guests. I'll say it one more time because I think I'll cut you off at the bitter end. Say it one
I
more
ain't
time.
saying nothing. I'm
You
good.
sure? You sure? You sure?
Yeah,
No,
I
I
got
think I
it.
cut you off. You can find Guest Outside on all platforms such as YouTube, Facebook, and IG. And thanks for subscribing to us. We're trying to reach a plateau of at least 1K. So like, subscribe, you know, don't hate, celebrate, tell a friend, you know. We're gonna skip to the next topic because it's getting late. And you know I'm in the city of Harm City and I won't be stuck in the car at nighttime because you know they say cars like a moving coffin.
No.
So we're gonna be back in 3 minutes, and we're gonna do Ibrahim Torre and that situation and what he means to the African people and black people across the world right now. And we're gonna combine that story with Timbaland and his AI record label. So we'll be right back. Peace.
Right.
Shit.